All right, welcome back to Right Edge. My name's Derek, and today I found another crazy thing out. Apparently, there is a lost Victorian Hyperloop in London. I've never heard of this before in my whole life. And I keep saying that, but the longer I'm around, the more I know that I don't know. So, hey, if you like to learn with me, if you like to learn more about forgotten history or strange, unique things or whatever my ADD brain decides that I want to learn about, you just let me know. And we will explore it together. Leave a comment below, like, subscribe, all that nonsense. And hey, let's learn about these lost Victorian Hyperloops. It's crazy.
Between 1863 and 1874, London was home to a remarkable underground network that most people today have never heard of. Beneath the city streets, a series of iron tubes carried capsule trains powered by air pressure, delivering letters, parcels, and government documents at speed.
That's crazy. That's so cool, though. I wonder why it failed. I wonder why they stopped using it.
That rivaled anything above ground. This was the Pneumatic Dispatch Company's bold attempt to revolutionize urban logistics with cutting-edge Victorian technology. It wasn't science fiction.
The fact that this would still be good if everybody had a basement and everything, this would be fantastic. Modern technology would obviously make it better.
It was real, and for a time, it worked. The concept had caught fire across Europe. Engineers believed that compressed air could do what steam and telegraph wires couldn't: move physical cargo quickly, cleanly, and reliably.
Yeah, this doesn't have to be everywhere. What if it just transported to a central hub for places? You know? I think this could be unbelievably useful.
Some even proposed building pneumatic tunnels under the English Channel, linking London to Paris by air-driven mail.
God, that'd be dope.
Within minutes. That particular dream never left the drawing board, but in London, the idea took hold in a more grounded form. Backed by inventors and supported by major institutes like the post office and railway companies,
and these rich people over here are like, wow. Oh my goodness, most indubitably. That's crazy. And they're not different from me, because I'm over here like, wow, that's cool and crazy. You know, I know a lot of things we have instantly now with the internet and whatnot, but I was just thinking packages. This would be a cool system for packages from a central hub to a helicopter hub or whatever for things like Amazon and whatnot.
Dispatch company built an operational system connecting Euston Station, the General Post Office, Holborn, and beyond. It was compact, fast, and astonishingly modern for its time. But in less than a generation, the whole thing just disappeared. So what went wrong? Why did it fail? And more importantly, what, if anything, still remains?
What if it didn't fail? What if it worked so good that only government uses it now?
Stay tuned to find out as we discover the story of the London Pneumatic Dispatch Company. I'm your host, Ryan Sokesh, and you're watching It's History.
I sure am, man. I'm watching it.
In the mid-19th century, London was already a dense, fast-growing metropolis, crowded, chaotic, and increasingly dependent on speed. The city's financial institutions, shipping firms, and government.
This landscape drawing is dope. Northern Assurance Company, London.
Government offices operated on a paper-based system, meaning bills of lading, contracts, and confidential memos had to be moved across town daily. At the time, most of it traveled by hand. Messengers darted between post offices and train stations on foot or horseback, in the process weaving through congested streets lined with carts, omnibuses, and crowds. Needless to say, delays were routine and brutal. Accuracy and security were also an issue with
I love this painting. It just shows life.
The system. But then the telegraph, introduced in the 1840s, solved some of these issues, but not all of them. Telegraphy could send information, but not actual items or signed papers that legal and commercial transactions still required. London needed something faster than a messenger, but more tangible than a wire. Enter pneumatic dispatch, the idea of sending physical capsules through underground tubes using compressed air or vacuum pressure. The principle wasn't new, as George Medhurst had proposed the concept
It's not new, but man, the fact that they did it is crazy.
as early as 1810, and patents continued to emerge over the following decades. But it wasn't until the 1850s and 60s that the idea became technically feasible and economically tempting. Engineers in Paris, Berlin, and New York had all begun testing local dispatch tubes for mail and telegram slips. Among the first to envision a full-scale London system was the French engineer Jean-Baptiste Berlier. In 1885, he published
Jean-Baptiste.
plans to link Paris and London by pneumatic tubes across the channel. His
That'd been crazy. This could actually be done today. I mean, it's not needed to be done, but could have been. It's just cool that they thought of this like shit almost 100 years
proposal
ago.
included a 2.5 meter diameter tunnel running from the French coast to Dover, capable of sending parcels in under an hour. Though it was never built, it did illustrate just how far the ambitions for this technology had reached. Though more precisely, British engineers began looking at London itself. Josiah Latimer Clark, chief engineer to the Electric Telegraph Company, had already experimented with short pneumatic links between the stock
I thought I had crazy eyebrows, but man, you take the cake.
exchange and the nearby telegraph office. His early system used narrow tubes, vacuum suction, and leather-sealed capsules. They worked, but only over a short distance. The real leap would come from Thomas Webster Ramil and the Samuda brothers. Ramil was a civil engineer with an eye for grand schemes, whereas Jacob and Joseph Samuda had a track record in atmospheric railway design. In 1859, Ramil patented a system for transporting letters and small goods underground. Hence, with major financial backing by some of the largest tycoons of the day, the Pneumatic Dispatch Company was formed.
This is so cool. So they made this train to like snap into that tunnel. That's wildly cool.
Their goal wasn't just a demonstration. It was to build an operational network across London that could serve the post office, the railways, and commercial clients. By 1861, they had the route, the plan, and the political support. Construction was about to begin.
Hell yeah.
Construction of the London pneumatic system began in earnest in 1861. The first tunnel stretched from Euston Station to the Northwestern District Post
I wonder if they're all this serious, or if there's some smiles in there, but the artist is just like, nah, we gotta make them serious because this is serious.
Office near Holborn, just under a third of a mile long. The work was commissioned by the Pneumatic Dispatch Company and designed by Thomas Webster Ramil, who adapted his earlier atmospheric railway concept to fit London's cramped subterranean environment. Now, the line that ran beneath Euston Road was cut by hand through the clay, with a brick-lined tunnel measuring 3 feet in diameter and laid 10 to 15 feet below the surface.
Brother.
The tube wasn't circular. It had a horseshoe cross-section just wide enough to accommodate a capsule train running on narrow-gauge rails. Now, the capsules themselves, known as carriers, were about 2 feet in diameter and 4 to 5 feet long. Each was mounted on wheels and sealed with flanges lined in felt to keep air pressure consistent. Furthermore, they were built to carry up to 35 bags of letters or parcels at a time. To power the system, engineers installed a steam-powered air pump at each end. One created a vacuum to pull the capsules through, and the other could push them using compressed air. Speeds reached up to 30 miles per hour. And at that pace,
38 miles per hour this time was super fast.
the total journey time between two stations was just under a minute, which was way quicker than anything that could be achieved above the ground. Tests showed that the system could move 12,000 letters in a single dispatch. With that in mind, track laying continued throughout the end of 1862, and a trial line from the sorting office to Holborn opened to internal testing soon thereafter. Additional branches were planned. By 1863, the company had mapped out routes from Euston to Holborn, then from Holborn to the General Post Office. The total system was planned to span several miles, with junctions at key transport and postal hubs.
Good job, man. Oh, God, dude. Do we underestimate how smart people were back in this era? So much.
Public anticipation built steadily as word spread in newspapers and
Yeah,
engineering
been
journals.
crazy fast.
The project was praised for its speed, economy, and potential to modernize mail delivery in Britain's capital. And then,
131,000 pounds in the 1800s, though, man, that's crazy. However, it was cheaper than what they were spending. So,
in June of 1863, after nearly 2 years of tunneling, pipe installation, and system calibration, the Pneumatic Dispatch Company held its official opening ceremony at Holborn. Government officials, post office managers, and members of the press gathered to witness this new technology in action.
yeah.
A capsule was loaded with mailbags, sealed into the entry tube, and launched towards Euston with a sharp hiss of compressed air. Seconds later, it arrived at the far end intact, undamaged, and on time. And with that, the system was declared operational.
They probably had like what, like a phone or something, or not, maybe not a phone, a telegram or something to let them know it arrived safely.
Pneumatic Dispatch Company began their regular operations in 1863. A private
Fucking
enterprise
awesome.
from the onset, it owned the entire system,
Fucking
the
awesome.
tunnels, the capsule trains, and the steam-driven air pumps that powered them. The British General Post Office was its first and only major client, contracting the
I mean, that's all it needed, right? That's all you needed.
company to move mail between key locations within London. The system worked well. It accelerated the internal transfer of mail and removed logistical bottlenecks between rail depots and the city's postal infrastructure. The system operated on a fixed schedule, handling thousands of letters per day. Foreign
Wow.
engineers from around the world visited to study it.
I bet they did, man.
Technical journals tracked its progress, but surprisingly, it never expanded beyond this core loop. And then reality set in as the operational difficulties mounted. For starters, the tunnels required constant maintenance. Joints leaked, water seeped in, capsules frequently jammed or arrived damaged. Not to mention the steam engines were labor-intensive and expensive to run.
That makes sense. Well, they only bricked it out, right? They didn't actually seal it like fully, and so it's underground on an island, which is below sea level, I bet.
Engineers developed elaborate workarounds, trap chambers to catch condensation, rotating valves, and pressure reservoirs, but none solved the structural limits of the system. And we should also point out that the public awareness remained low. Remember, the entire operation was basically invisible to the people it served. As far as most were concerned, the mailbags just disappeared into a hatch and then re-emerged at the other end. In other words, the system never really became a part of urban imagination. The end came in 1874, when the General Post Office, no longer willing to absorb the high cost of ongoing failures, terminated the contract. The company, with no alternative
Unfortunate.
clients and no state support, shut down soon after. Its machinery was sold off, the tunnels were sealed, and the system was dismantled in parts and forgotten in others. However, years later,
man.
the idea of an underground mail transport in London would return, though this time under state control. In 1927, the post office inaugurated a fully electric narrow gauge railway designed specifically for parcel transport. The London Post Office Railway, known
Makes a
today
little
as
bit more
Mail Rail.
sense.
It was larger, more reliable, and
Does it have a
stayed in
person in
service
there?
until the early 21st century. But that's probably
That's
a story
dope.
for another day. My main point is that the Pneumatic Dispatch Company had come first. It had built something entirely new and ahead of its time.
God, it's so ahead of
Today,
its time.
almost nothing remains of the Pneumatic Dispatch Company's original.
Well, what do you guys think of that? Did you know about the Nomadic Dispatch Company? Had you ever heard of this before? If you have, like, leave a comment, down below. Tell me when you learned about it. Like, just share your experience with me. Like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Tell me what you'd like to see next time or what you'd like to learn about next time. Or, like I said before, tell me the story about when you found out about this. Because this is news to me. It doesn't surprise me that it failed, but it failed kind of because it was too ahead of its time. Which is really cool to think about, but really unfortunate as well. It happens a lot in our history, how some things fail that were just so far ahead of their time, like the rest of the technology hadn't, kept up. But anyway, take it easy. Hope you have a great day, and see you next time. Bye-bye.